All right, so here's our second example for solving quadratics by completing the square. The only thing I really changed up was I'm putting a negative b, so this is a minus 10. Again, it's not going to change how we do it. I just want you to see one, and then we'll talk about some more things you need to be aware of as we work through this. So remember, our first step was we need all of our constants on the right-hand side. So any number that does not have a variable, we need to move to the right-hand side. So here it's 24. So I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. If there was another number right here, we would just, whatever that number was, minus 24 to move the constant to the right-hand side. But again, for this, it's just the foundation of completing the square, solving by completing the square. So we're going to do them just with them equal to 0 for this week, just to give you a little bit of an understanding for future math classes. All right, so that's going to give me x squared minus 10x. Remember, I'm canceling this out, but instead of just putting nothing, I'm going to put a blank right there, and that's going to equal negative 24. But I put a blank on the left-hand side. I need to put a blank on the right-hand side. Our next step is we need to fill in that blank. Remember, we're going to use this formula every time. So you might want to write that little formula off on a sheet of paper so you don't have to keep coming back to the videos to get it. All right, so I need my b over 2. Well, my b is negative 10. That sign is important. Square. Excuse me, negative 10 over 2 and square it. And again, you could go ahead and punch this in your calculator the way it looks right now. I would not. Let's look for our so-called magic number. This negative 10 divided by 2. So before I square it, what is negative 10 divided by 2? It is negative 5 squared. So this number right here, before I square it, is my magic number. And you'll see again where we use that in the completion of this equation. Well, now you can go ahead and say negative 5 squared is positive 25. Here's one thing you need to be aware of. It didn't matter that this was negative. When I squared it, it became positive. If it's already positive, then it's still going to be positive. I tell you that because every time we fill in these blanks, it will always be with a positive number, okay? So this number here will always be positive when we're completing the square. It has to be because I'm squaring a number to get it. All right. So I'm going to rewrite. I've got x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals negative 24, and a positive 25 gives me 1. Okay. Now, if you just like factoring, you can go ahead and factor this. Get your 2 sets of parentheses. But remember on the last one, our 2 sets of parentheses are going to have the exact same thing in it. So if I were you, we don't talk about skipping steps a lot, but here's one I would highly recommend you skipping because you don't want to do extra work. So we're going to take our magic number, which was minus 5 or negative 5, put it in parentheses and square it. So that number becomes that number in parentheses squared every time, and that equals 1. So again, just like what we did on Monday and Tuesday, now we're ready to solve by taking the square root. I'm going to rewrite it. You don't have to rewrite it. I just want you to be able to see what we're doing each step. So now we're going to take the square root of both sides. Well, remember, when we take the square root, that cancels out that square. That leaves me x minus 5 plus or minus square root of 1 is 1. So now we set up 2 equations. X minus 5 equals this positive 1. X minus 5 equal that negative 1. Now solve for x. I'm going to add 5. Add 5. X equals 6. We're going to add 5. Add 5. X equals 4. So there are my 2 equations. Again, one of these things that when you do a couple of them, it's going to get really, really easy for you. Follow the steps. Don't forget, use your magic number to skip a step. We all like skipping steps. Again, your worksheet only has 5 of them. And then you'll have a little quiz on Friday that'll have like maybe 4 on them. Guys, keep it working, please, please, please. We're going to figure out a way to really improve your grades if you continue to work. because you know these are all going in as quiz grades, and quiz grades don't move your grades a whole lot. But we're going to figure out a way to really improve your grade for those of you that are continuing to work. So thank you so much.